I understand as a very busy woman that it can be difficult to stay in touch with our girlfriends all the time. So is it possible to be a girlfriend to everybody? Absolutely not. If you're going to do something for a girlfriend, do it genuinely and don't expect anything in return. And so this is one of the common mistakes that women make.
Hey girlfriend, are you ready for a new ism based on love and friendship? Welcome to Girlfriendism.
Our Girlfriendism family is on a mission to connect 1 million girlfriends across the globe by 2030. Let's do this. All right, girlfriends. So if you want to be a better girlfriend, they don't call me the Global Girlfriend Empowerer for nothing. Tune into this episode and learn about the common mistakes that end women's friendships and 7 opportunities to improve yours. So let's get started. So the top 7 tips that we're going to dive into in this episode today are 1, don't forget your girlfriends. 2, don't be dependent on them. 3, don't forget to check in. 4, don't try to control their decisions. 5, don't force a friendship. 6, don't tell their business. And 7, and this is a bonus, let's chat business and friendships. So for the first recommendation, don't forget your girlfriends. So listen, girlfriends, I understand as a very busy woman that it can be difficult to stay in touch with our girlfriends all the time. Imagine if you were to respond to every single text message, every single messenger, every single email, every single phone call, like, hello, when would you get time to work? So is it possible to be a girlfriend to everybody? Absolutely not. But it doesn't mean that you forget your girlfriends either. One of the common mistakes that women tend to make, especially during major transitions in their lives, like getting married or having children, is that they allow the roles and the identities of being a mother, being a wife, and sometimes even in entrepreneurship or major career shifts, like being a corporate leader. They allow these identities, these roles, to take precedence over the connection and the belonging, which is so important to our friendships with our girlfriends. So that is the very first recommendation. Don't forget your girlfriends. In fact, when you're going through major transitions in life, that's when you ought to lean in to your girlfriends. Why? Well, just as I said, life is going to get busy. If you're going up the ladder in your career path, if you're starting a business or growing your business, if you're married and enjoying and learning what it's like to be in a new relationship, and if you're a mom, I totally get it because I am all of the above. But one of the things that costs absolutely nothing and helps to improve our relationships with our girlfriends is taking a moment to remember and acknowledge them. That can be a simple text. Hey, girlfriend, I'm just thinking about you today. Hope all is well. Sending love and light. Now, let's be clear. You see, I didn't add a question in there just yet, because depending on the day, you may not be there or available to answer the question. But in making a statement, in reaching out, you share with that girlfriend in that moment that you're thinking about her and that you're wishing her well. This is an easy way to stay in touch with our girlfriends and to let them know, I'm thinking about you. I have not forgotten you, girlfriend. And again, remember, that is going to be the time to lean in more, because as some of these other major life transitions take precedence in our lives, as there are different seasons in our life where we need to focus on our marriages or our relationships, where we need to focus on our children, where we need to focus on entrepreneurship and our careers. And sometimes, damn it, we just need time to focus on ourselves, which may cause us to retreat a little bit. It doesn't mean that you have to forget your girlfriends and those who love you all together. So be intentional about reaching out. Doesn't have to be every day or every week, but from time to time, so your girlfriends know that you haven't forgotten them. Otherwise, they may feel right? Like they're not important to you, or they may feel like these new priorities have taken precedence over your relationship, which may not be true. It may just mean that you're having a tough time balancing, or you're intentionally focusing on something in this particular season of your life, but it doesn't mean that you have to forget your girlfriends. So that is the first common mistake. And that is one opportunity for you to check in with a girlfriend. So in fact, if you want to challenge yourself as you're looking at this video right now, put me on pause. Think about that girlfriend who you have not reached out to in a while and take a moment to shoot her a quick text, letting her know, I haven't forgotten about you. So here is common mistake and opportunity number 2. So dependency. Well, what does dependency mean? Our girlfriends ought to complement our lives, complement our success, complement our journeys. They should not be the ones who are going to provide us with that happiness. We should not be depending on them to be our company. We shouldn't depend on them to have the answers to all of our problems. And this is particularly key because when we find dependencies in relationships, that's when we can also find that there's a giver and a taker. The person who is becoming dependent on their girlfriends is actually sucking their girlfriends dry, and they are taking more than they are actually depositing. So I have this phrase where I say, are your girlfriends making deposits or are they making withdrawals? Now, let's be clear. The whole reason of having a girlfriend is so you can make deposits and withdrawals. You've got to find the balance between the two. You don't want to be in a situation or in a girlfriendship where you find that you're constantly giving to the person to a place where you feel depleted. And then they're not there to help fill your cup when you need. At the same time, you don't want to be that girlfriend who's constantly only calling a girlfriend when you need something, only calling a girlfriend when you need to complain or you're stressed out. How about calling that girlfriend to see what she needs today? How can you fill her cup just as she fill yours? And when we make our girlfriends dependent, right? When we become dependent on our girlfriends to be happy, when we become dependent on our girlfriends to cure our grief, when we become dependent on our girlfriends to keep our company, we're going to find ourselves being very lonely and also resentful. Why? No woman, no girlfriend can be everything to everyone. And that includes you. So you want to take an assessment from time to time when you look at your relationships. How much am I taking? How much am I giving? And likewise, do the same in the reverse to ensure that if there's a season in your life where a girlfriend has consistently shown up for you, take the time to be intentional about doing the same for her. Not that we should do things with an expectation, because you cannot expect yourself from other people. If you're going to do something for a girlfriend, do it genuinely and don't expect anything in return. And also take an assessment of how often you may feel drained in relationships with your girlfriends or how often you may feel depleted. Girlfriend relationships that are healthy, right? Well, first of all, if it's a girlfriendship, right, then it is healthy. A lot of times people say, well, if they're a true girlfriend, well, that's an oxymoron. A girlfriend is either a girlfriend or they may be an acquaintance or it may be a situationship. But our girlfriends fill our cup, not even with necessarily doing anything, but their spirit, their soul, their energy, their vibe, their presence alone fills our cup. So it's important that we're not dependent on them. And it's also important that we are not having friendships where they are dependent on us, right? That is where we might need a little bit of conflict resolution, a little bit of heart-to-heart conversation so we can find the balance in relationship. So that is recommendation number 2. Don't be dependent. Don't be a taker. Be a giver as well. Right? and connect with other girlfriends. So no one girlfriend should be the one that you lean on all the time for everything, because it is impossible for her to be everything to you all the time. So this is where girlfriendism is so important, because it allows you to expand your girlfriend network. And what you'll find will happen organically is you'll have girlfriends who you lean on, right, and interact with when you want to have fun. You'll have girlfriends that you lean on and interact with when it comes to relationship or when it comes to business. And then you'll find that instead of depending on one girlfriend or even two to fill all of these cups, you're now able to make withdrawals and deposits with different girlfriends. And with girlfriendism, it can be different girlfriends across the globe. So here is recommendation number 3. Don't forget to check in. So much similar to the first one, which is don't forget your girlfriends. This one is a check-in for those girlfriends, even who you may be connected with already. Sometimes because of the hustle and bustle of life, the hamster wheel that we're on, even when we ask our girlfriend, hey girlfriend, what's up? Sometimes we don't even wait for the response. The next time you ask your girlfriend, hey girlfriend, how are you doing? Pause and wait for her to actually tell you how she's doing. That's what I mean about checking in. Friendship, yes, it's for the fun, it's for the travel, all the things that we do in girlfriendism. But more importantly, it's about building those meaningful connections. And you can only build meaningful connections if you are vulnerable and if you are intentional about carving out space and time to be present with your girlfriends. So when we are in passing, right, when we're just having fun together amongst other people, that is great. There are opportunities to connect, but is it a true check-in where we're getting to see each other, hear each other, and be present with each other? That is an entirely different experience that requires you to pause and be intentional. So that's what I mean about a check-in. So as you take an assessment of the girlfriends in your space right now, think about, when is the last time that I've actually had an in-depth conversation with them, whether it be about how they're feeling about this phase and season of their life, whether it be about spirituality, whether it be about your dreams and desires for the future. When was the last time that you've had an in-depth conversation? That's what I mean by a check-in. And what happens is often when we connect with women who are on a growth journey, we tend to feel disconnected with girlfriends who don't take the time to truly check in. Because then as our girlfriends grow, and the hope is that with girlfriendism and other movements that women are leading to connect women around the world, the hope is that you're growing together. But often, just like any other relationship, an intimate relationship, in a relationship with your parents, a relationship with siblings, if you don't take that time to check in deeply and authentically, then there's going to start to be a disconnect. So don't take for granted just because your girlfriends are around that they're going to actually be present unless you take the time to be present with them. So that's the third recommendation. On to the common mistake. Number 4 is controlling their decisions. Y'all, come on. Stop trying to control your friends' lives. Let them figure that shit out. You understand what I'm saying? Your role as a girlfriend is not to tell your friends what to do. Damn it. You probably don't even know what you should be doing in your own life. So how about that? Focus on what you're doing with your own life. Your role as a girlfriend is to be a support and to be honest when your advice has been sought. And I emphasize this for this reason. Now, mind you, my disclaimer is different girlfriend relationships are different. And so you want to check in with your girlfriends, especially when you're feeling a sense of vulnerability and connection, to have the conversation about what does being a girlfriend look like to me. Okay. So even as I'm going to share this perspective with you, be the one to check in with your girlfriend to say, hey, what does it mean to actually be a girlfriend to you? And here's what it means to be a girlfriend to me, because it can look different. It will look different for everyone. And it can look different from what I'm about to share. I personally, and one of the ways that I have been able to connect with women across the globe, one of the ways that I have been named the Global Girlfriend Empower I'm just saying is I don't try to control my friends' decisions. So let me give you a very real example and one that I come into all the time. So most of you know, or some of you who are just getting to know me may not know, but you'll know now that one of my passion areas is working with survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence. And one of the common feedback that I receive from girlfriends who may not have been in that situation, but they have a friend who is their frustration about their friend remaining in an abusive relationship, right? Or them expressing to their friend that they need to leave, that they need to choose someone else, that they need to know their worth. And they're frustrated when their girlfriend takes in that information and goes right back to a situation that is unhealthy. Well, this is where I'm going to call you out. The girlfriend who's in the abusive relationship is not to blame. I would say that I got to call you up on some things because when you feel the need to control what someone else does in their life, you need to take a step back, pause, and ask yourself, what am I actually trying to control in my life that I don't have control over? And therefore now I am projecting on someone what they should do in their life. I'm going to leave that with a moment of silence so you could think about it. Okay. The truth is, even though we may witness our girlfriends and our friends in situations like a domestic violence situation that may not be healthy, that may be harmful, as a girlfriend on the outside, sometimes we see the beauty, the power, and the resilience of a person that they're not able to see. But one of the common things that I've learned a long time ago in therapy and counseling is you cannot help someone who is not ready to be helped. And what does that mean? A girlfriend needs you to be there to support them. Now, does that mean that you're going to support your girlfriend in being in an unhealthy relationship? No, but the lack of support doesn't come for her. It comes from the person who is causing her harm. What you want to do is support her by affirming her decision and her right to decide what is best for her. You affirm for her that she has everything within her to do what is best for her life. You affirm in her that you see all of the beauty and her power and her essence and her strength. That is your role and your job as a girlfriend, is to affirm your sister girlfriends, is to reflect for them the things that you see. Now, does that mean that you cannot have an honest conversation with your girlfriends and say, girlfriend, I am so concerned for you and I don't know what to do? Absolutely not. But that comes across completely different from you need to leave that man or you need to leave that woman or I can't be your friend. Now you have become the abuser, just like the person that you're criticizing her for being with to begin with. So you want that when you are supporting your girlfriends, truly support them, not control their decisions, because part of respecting in friendship is respecting the fact that people have a right to make their own decisions. And so if you feel unequipped to help a girlfriend in that situation, here's the first thing. Ask, how can I help you? Chances are she may not even know because she's in survival mode and she too is trying to figure out what she needs. But being behind her all the time is not going to help her to make a decision faster. It's going to add unnecessary pressure. What you want to do is be there as a support, ask how you can help, and if she provides a response as to how you can help, if it's within your capacity, then you do that. And in that process, nowhere are you the one trying to control her and tell her what to do. Now, listen, I use that as an example because it's something I'm so passionate about, but this can apply to many different aspects, whether it's relationship, whether it's entrepreneurship, hell, whether it's what outfit she should wear. I mean, as a boutique owner, I've seen it time and time again. Girlfriends come in and they're like, oh, you shouldn't get that dress. It doesn't fit you right. Meanwhile, the girlfriend in the dress is like, I feel beautiful. What is your role as a girlfriend? Support your girlfriends where they are, not from the place of where you are, because then you're making it about you. And that's one of the common mistakes that women make when working with or developing friendships with other women is feeling the need to control them. So here is my advice. Control your own damn self. Be an actual support and affirm your girlfriends and ask them, how can I support you? So you can show up in a true girlfriend way from their perspective, and likewise share with them what you need to feel supported as a girlfriend. So that's recommendation number 4. So we're almost there. Number 5 is don't force friendship. So listen, I hear it and I get it. When people say you got to cut people off, you've got to, sometimes be lonely at the top. I don't subscribe to any of those narratives. And I'm sure in future YouTube videos, I will share why. And hey, if you don't agree with me, it's fine. How are your relationships going? If it's working for you, stick with what works. But if not, there might be a couple resources and a different perspective for you to gain, because I can tell you that I have been working with women for decades. And so there's a little thing or two that I think I've learned in the time. Okay. So when I say don't force friendships, what this means is there may be times in your life where you met a girlfriend and you all were in sync. Things were connecting. You're on the same page, on the same path, on the same journey. And then somewhere along the line, things just start to spread apart. Here's the thing. Let's not weaponize and let us not create negativity around growing apart. Growing apart simply means that new doors are opening for new chapters. It doesn't mean that people can't grow apart and come back together. The same goes for our friendships. Sometimes I see people in this roller coaster hamster ride that can create dependency, that can create unhealthy, toxic situations where they're forcing a friendship to last because they're holding on to an old version of themselves and to an old version of maybe who that girlfriend once was when they met. It is okay for people to grow apart. And what that means, and why I say I don't believe in cutting off but releasing, is that we've weaponized growing apart and making that seem like it's a negative thing. You can release people with love. You can recognize that I am in a different place. And this happens a lot when women are having major transitions, right? So for example, I'm a newlywed. I may find myself gravitating more to women who are in marriages as well, compared to my girlfriends who are single. Now, let's just be clear. I just told you that when you're going through major transformations, don't forget your girlfriends. And I mean that. And so I am going to be intentional about connecting with my girlfriends who I've had before I was married and when I was single, not because I want to negate the girlfriends that I'm going to develop and create as a married woman, but because I understand that there's beauty from girlfriends on both sides. When you are in a particular situation, girlfriends who are not in that situation can provide an outside perspective. And even if it's not an outside perspective, but they can provide a different energy, that sometimes you need that. And there's something about single women just have an energy of liberation and freedom, honey. Now, let me just be clear. I'm married and I feel like I still got a spirit of freedom and liberation because my husband knows. And I love you, baby, if you see this, but you will. That I am not a woman who could be tamed. Okay. And that's the exact reason my husband is attracted to me, because I was once that woman. I am no longer that woman because I have even grown apart from that old version of myself. I've stepped in fully to my independence and loving who I am, where I am today. And so I say that to say, if it works, right? Friendship shouldn't be difficult. Will it have challenges? Of course, that's human behavior. But should it be challenging? Should it be constant conflict resolution? Should it feel draining and exhausting and be full of toxicity? No, my love. Whether it is a friendship with a girlfriend or a relationship with a partner or spouse, no relationship should leave you feeling drained, especially not consistently. And again, a difference of opinion, right? Having conflict that requires resolution, that is completely different from a toxic, unhealthy, draining, and mentally unhealthy relationship. And so part of your work is understanding your tolerance level, understanding what are the things that drain me and what are the things that bring me joy and help me to feel light, and who are the people in my life that provide one or the other. And if indeed we are at different places in our life, it's if indeed maybe this person once brought me much joy, but now their energy is just shifting and I'm just not as happy, know that there isn't something wrong with that person. That is where I think so many women go wrong. So what happens is people grow apart and they start to weaponize the other person as if the ways in which they're different is a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that girlfriend and there's nothing wrong with you. It just means that, you know what, we're at a different place in our life where we don't necessarily want the same things. Maybe we need to grow apart in order to come back together again, or maybe we just need to grow apart to go through those doors, those new doors that are opening that are going to support us on this journey and this path that we're on. So I don't say to cut off, I say to release with love, release with peace, and let's not weaponize those girlfriends who may be different from us. In fact, at one point, their different was sexy to us, and that's why they were our friends. Just because we've grown apart, don't mean that we have to weaponize ourselves or that we have to weaponize them. We can release with love and enter new doors of friendship. So that is my other common mistake where people force relationships to work that has simply expired. Don't weaponize, release with love. Okay. We're almost there, girlfriends. We've got the 6 and the 7. So the 6 is don't tell their business. Come on now. I mean, sometimes common sense just ain't common. Can I just tell you? What kind of friend goes out and tells their friend's business just because they didn't get their way, or just because they've grown apart, or because they did something that they didn't like? And this is why a lot of women say real girlfriends. Well, let me tell you something. If you have a girlfriend that has shared something that is near and dear to you, they were never a girlfriend to begin with. So let's put some respect on the name girlfriend, and let's be clear that a girlfriend will never put you or them in a compromising position by telling your business. Now, I ain't talking about nothing that's illegal. If you put your girlfriend in a situation where they got to tell the truth because you went and did something wrong, that's your ass. Okay? You put them in a compromising position. But this is just talking about things that are personal, near and dear. Listen, girlfriends are such a special gift to each other because they represent a safe space. All those hats and roles that I was talking about, being the mother, being the daughter, being the caretaker, being the entrepreneur, all of that, when you are with your girlfriends, it is the one place that you are able to take that hat off and set it to the side and be yourself with no judgment. And you can be yourself with love and support. This is why we don't control our girlfriends' decisions. And this is why we also don't tell them their business. Now, let me be very honest. One of the reasons that I founded Girlfriendism is because I realized that some girlfriends need to have a girlfriend therapist, AKA me, okay? Girlfriends are not always the most confidential people. Now, let's be clear. I don't think that when people share other people's information, particularly with other girlfriends, that it's usually meant out of harm. Most girlfriends are usually trying to process information, and so they may go to someone that they think is also trusted to share that information to help them to process. This is human behavior. However, in the process of doing that, they negate the fact that you may have a different relationship with that girlfriend than you do. And therefore, we don't have the right to take girlfriends' information that they share with us when they're vulnerable, that they share with us in a private moment, and take that and share it with other people, knowing their business. Because then that can turn around and be used against them or to be weaponized by them, because the person you're sharing that information with may not have their best interests at heart just in the way that you do. And so this is one of the common mistakes that women make, is that they go to another girlfriend about something a girlfriend trusted them with. And then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a he said, she said, story can situation that you can't undo. People cannot unhear information. They cannot unsee pictures and videos. And so the greatest bet is just not to disclose something that was intended to be a sacred moment between you and a girlfriend. And like I said, because I understand human behavior, one of the benefits of this girlfriend here is that I know how to be an actual girlfriend, and HIPAA also knows how to keep a real girlfriend. Because when you are within the counseling and therapeutic fields, you understand the importance and the gravity, right? When you share someone's information. And so I have created a habit within myself where information comes in one ear, I process it while I'm with you. And when you leave me, it goes out the other ear. So you may see me tomorrow and be like, girl, that thing I said. And I'm like, what thing? I've literally made sure I have forgotten because there's no use for me to have that information or to maintain that information unless I'm there with you in the moment. So that is something that seems so obvious, but yet girlfriends tend to do it from time to time. And if you really are a girlfriend, if you really have someone's best interest at heart, you don't turn on them just because things became sour. Because guess what? That is not a representation. Whatever you think you're sharing that's going to damage that girlfriend, that is not a representation of them. It is a representation of you. And if that is something that you're intentionally doing, you're not a girlfriend, you're a trifling ass. And yes, your girlfriend, Dr. K, said that to you because it is the truth. Don't do unto others that you don't want them to do to you. Girlfriends are safe spaces. So that means to keep their information safe. Okay? All right. And so the last but not least, we also have business and friendship. So let me just say this is a bonus one that really varies depending on the kind of friendship that you have. So this is what I'm going to say. I'm not saying not to go into business with your friends, because as you can see, I'm in business with all of my friends. But here is what you also want to keep in mind. Make sure that you have very clear roles, clear expectations in how you go forth in dealing with the friendship and how you go forth in dealing with the business. Often, one of the unfortunate things to see is when you have two beautiful human beings who have pure love for each other, they have a vision together, they come together to bring that vision to reality. And because of broken communication, because of expectations, because of trying to control, because of dependency, right? Because we forget to check in, because of lack of communication, because of trying to force things that don't need to be forced any longer, both the friendship and the business vision come to a fall. Assess clearly before you decide to go into business with your friends if this should be a girlfriend or if it should be a girlfriend and business partner. It's not every business partner that should be a girlfriend, and not every girlfriend should be your business partner. So that is just a bonus suggestion because I understand that we are talking to girlfriends who are also entrepreneurs and creatives. And as we expand our social networks, we're also expanding our business networks because who better to want to be in business with than our girlfriend? Who better to explore this world of entrepreneurship with than our girlfriends? And who better to check in with but yourself to have discernment and understand our styles of working may be very different, or this person has a strength and they may not understand or appreciate my strength. And they make a great girlfriend, but not necessarily the greatest business partner, or they are an amazing business partner, but I don't want to be that vulnerable with them. Have discernment to know when you want to preserve just a business relationship or preserve just a friendship. And honey, if you can do both, you have mastered to a degree human behavior because that requires wisdom, communication, sensuality, and it also requires emotional intelligence, which I did an entire episode on. So be sure to check that out. So that was a bonus. It's not a not to do, it's just something to be aware of as we embark on this global girlfriendism journey with other entrepreneurs and creatives. So my love, that sums up the common mistakes that end women's friendships, but also the 7 opportunities to shift those mistakes and those challenges around to ensure that you continue to grow in your relationships with girlfriends and to ensure that from day to day, you are a better girlfriend to yourself and to others. And so I'm going to leave you with that. As you think about these challenges and opportunities, know that as you become more intuitive and you become more in tune with yourself and your sensuality, the more you are able to give yourself grace, which means the more you're able to give others grace. The more that you take time to be intentional and be still with yourself, to be able to process and to learn from your experiences, the more likely you're able to be present and understanding and empathetic towards other women as well. So you see how this all comes full circle. I've given you 7 common mistakes and also 7 opportunities. But I will tell you the greatest opportunity of them all is to be a girlfriend to yourself first, so that you can be a girlfriend to others. So that sums up this episode. It's your girlfriend, Dr. K. If you have not already subscribed to girlfriendism.com, the hell, what are you waiting for? Get with it. You want to join our global family as we aim to connect girlfriends across the globe through fashion, through retreats, through travel, and other wellness opportunities. So girlfriends and boyfriends too, I'll be seeing y'all. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Until next time, be well. That's all for now, girlfriends. Let's stay connected and subscribe for more at www.girlfriendism.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.